Ivete se aposentou, a loja de Abadá virou padaria e o trio elétrico foi pra sucataria. Não vai ter murro no olho, mel do chiclete tá de molho. Não vai ter caravela na avenida, nem história de ancestrais da colonização.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, security boss. Look at you. You look
How
so
are
nice.
you? Thank you.
I'm doing well. I am so excited to have you today. I feel like we met on a mirror show on the Lapeef network, but I've been listening to you. I think you make some guest appearances on TLA. You make some guest appearances on the Lapeef network. I was like, I gotta talk to her
Good.
because she brings the heat and I love it so much. Guys, if first of all, welcome everyone. We have 37 people already in here. I just want to shout out, what up, MGTOW Logic? Happy Friday. We got Kayla. I'm excited for this. Hey, everyone. Hi, Celine. Let us know where you're watching from. We're so excited to get into this conversation. I've been wanting to get Security Boss on the channel for a hot minute, okay?
Thank you.
So I'm so happy. And then we got B-Dubs, good marriage. Don't get married. We don't want that. We're gonna get people married after the show.
Yep.
We got Jenny here. Hello, sunshine. Hi, Jenny. It's good to see you. All right, guys, we're gonna jump into it. First of all, security boss, you're the live stream queen over here, okay?
Wow.
You're the live stream queen over here. So
Okay.
I want to make this a conversation. I want this to be us just chatting about these things as two married women. You have a little bit more experience than I do, but this is why we need all of the gems tonight. I have my notebooks. Guys, if you don't have your notebook out here, get a pen, get a piece of paper. I don't know what you got to get, but there are going to be some amazing gems today. Victor says, "Hey, Rebecca. Hey, security boss."
Hello, Victor.
We got Sandy. I can't. I'm sorry. I love it. Hey, from San Diego. We got Jacqueline from Houston. We got Daniel watching from Norway. We're international right now. Got Kayla from Houston, Texas. So happy to see everyone here in the chat. If you guys haven't liked the video yet, please hit the like button. Get out of the chat. Hit the like button. Come back into the chat. And yeah, security boss. First of all, tell us a little bit about your channel.
Well, the channel that I'm with now is Security Boss Unsolicited. And Unsolicited is simply a place you can go where you didn't ask for certain things, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. So that's how I came up with the name.
I love
Unsolicited.
it. I love it. I love it. And you recently got monetized, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
did. You mentioned TLA.
Yes.
I have a professional channel also, which is Security Boss Making the Cut, which is for my company. And but I'm always talking to people, like they come in the office, it'll be about a job interview and it end up being about something else. So it was always that way. And we always we videotaped it. So talking to TLA one time, he said, you shouldn't put all your content on one channel. You should, divide it up because it confuses the viewers. So that particular day I was on there, my husband and I decided to do another channel. And that's how Unsolicited came about. And it was just right at 90 days or maybe a couple days over. Unsolicited is now monetized. It happened, I think, New Year's Eve.
Ooh.
The exact day.
So you came into the new year monetized.
I did.
That's amazing. That's
I did.
amazing. And I love it. I love it because I appreciate your content so much because you come you care. You come
Yeah,
from a
I do.
place of love and it's very, it's very translated in your content that you make. It's very apparent. You're not trying to get a rise. You might end up getting a rise sometimes, but you keep it 100 and you come in a place out of love, and I appreciate that so much because today in social media world we're living in a place of everything is fake, nothing's really real, and I appreciate the way that you speak to people. It's always from a loving place. It's always from a place of I want to help. Like you said, it's unsolicited advice. Take it or leave it.
That's exactly what it is. But I would say it like this. I always speak from a place of accountability.
Yes.
Accountability and integrity. That's kind of how we operate in our business. And it just kind of spills over. And it's a good place.
It is a good place. And that's something that I was trying to figure out how I want to go about this conversation because there's so many gems. I have so many points that I want to talk about. And I think we're going to have to do this like 3 more times just to get
all of them. You're right. You probably will.
because I don't think one stream is going to be enough for this, all of the things that we're going to talk about. But please, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your marriage. You're married 26
26
years?
years. November the 14th was 26 years.
That's
I've
amazing.
been
I wish I
married.
had a like soundboard or something.
You know what? I got one for you. You ask and we deliver. So
Yes.
listen, 26 years. I've been married over half of my life.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Tell
I
it.
got
So
married at 25 years old. I met my husband. This is what's funny. I met my husband in a nightclub. Yeah, back then in those days, nightclubs were sexy. And I met my husband in a nightclub. And he was an alpha male. He is an alpha male. He kicks down the door. Instead of allowing me to sit on the seat, he wanted me to sit on his knee.
Ooh!
I was like, whoa, and we just had little conversation that night, hello, how are you? Just kind of talked about some common people that we may have known, and we did. And then I didn't speak to him for like another year after that, because I did let on that I wasn't ready for what he was ready for. So it was a whole year. I was going to school and just doing, I guess back then it was a hot girl winter because it wasn't summer. But anyway, I just wasn't ready. I was about 24 years old, I would say. And I just wasn't ready. So early one morning, it was a year later, maybe a little over a year, he called me and he did this crazy thing. That was when we had landlines in the house. So he did this emergency breakthrough where he used the operator because he didn't remember my number, but he knew my name. So he called the operator and told the operator, I have an emergency call for this woman. I need to talk to her. So the operator called the number, dispatched us through. And I can't tell you my husband's name. If I could tell you what the name was, then it would make it more funny because it was a bad time for that particular name. So anyway, they said his name and I said, what? Why is he calling me? That particular person. So anyway, I did it. It was early in the morning. I probably had just came home from nightclub. I don't know. But I finally clicked in and I was like, oh, yeah. I'll accept it. I'll accept the call. So then the operator drops off. Then he comes on and then he's speaking to me. And I don't remember the conversation at all. But anyway, from then on, we talked 24 hours a day for I don't know how long. And then about 6 months later, we were married. Yeah.
6 months later?
6 months later.
This is something my husband told me. He said, I knew from the moment I met you that I wanted to marry you. You didn't know it. I had to convince you that you had to know it. But it's so funny when they know, they know. And that's how it is, right?
I never asked him that question. Did he know? But I do know it was a whole year. We met, a whole year went by, no conversation. Not hello, how are you here in between? Nothing. And then all of a sudden, and then married. So
I love it. I love it so much.
it's crazy.
And you know what it is? It's crazy for today's modern day. But I'm sure that, it was very commonplace, or at least still not as like taboo as it is today to get married in 6 months. My husband and I, we dated for a year, engaged for a year. And so I guess 2 years of like courting and all that stuff. But, I knew shortly after that I wanted to marry my husband, and he knew right off from the jump. So
I remember, now that you say that, I remember saying to my husband that I think I already met my husband after the year we got, start talking again. I did tell him that, but then he goes on, he wants to tell it his way. He says I gave him an ultimatum, but that never happened. So whatever. That's
that's a story that I'm sticking with.
Yeah, that's a story.
So I love it. What's up, Harrison Family Vlogs? Oh, here we go. What up, Andre? I love Andre and Harrison Family Vlogs. Love your channel. Okay, so now that we have a little bit of context about your story, right? So the first topic I want to talk about is this TLA video that you were sitting on a panel and I don't know if you remember.
Is it the face? Is that the
one?
Face.
The one with the faces.
The face tells it all. I'm gonna have to work on that.
I'm very much like you. I don't necessarily have a poker face. You will see everything here.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeah, it's something that I'm working on as well. But there's a TLA video, and this woman was talking about how she doesn't submit to a boyfriend. And first of all, I was like, are we going to hear what Security Boss has to say about this? Because I was on the edge of my seat, literally watching this video. I'm like, is she going to say anything? I'm only seeing your facial expressions in this video, and I didn't hear what you have to say. So, first of all, we're going to talk about femininity and submission. That's going to be one of the topics that we're going to be talking about. But I really wanted to get your take on that situation because I was dying. I was on the edge of my seat to know.
Well, sometimes some of the words she used kind of got my face off. I was like, I couldn't
Yes.
believe she was saying some of the things that she said. But to get back to the point that she was trying to make, I think sometimes we confuse femininity with submission.
Mhm.
Feminine, being a lady, I'm just going to keep it like that. A lady, being a lady is something that you don't turn on and off. You're just a lady. You just show up that way. If the kids are there, they need their plate fixed. Because remember, that's what it was about, fixing the man's plate.
Mhm.
If the kids are there, they need their plate fixed, you fix it. If any man that's there and he needs his plate fixed, you fix it. You offer that. That's just what ladies do, including your man. So that's just not a big thing. That's just being a lady, just carrying yourself as someone that kind of nurtures and caters and serves. That's just
Mhm.
a lady. And also down to the words that we use. Now, if you can remember in the video, she used some harsh words when she addressed some people in her town. I'm just going to leave it like that. So
Mhm.
that was kind of shocking too. But as far as the submission goes, believe it or not, I kind of understood what she was trying to say.
Mhm.
And I do think she was somewhat right. But I think she was just getting the two words mixed up.
Mhm.
Lady, you show up if you're a lady and that's who you are, that's how you show up. You can't turn it on and off. Being submissive is for your husband, but it is also to authority.
Mhm.
When we're here in this world and we see police officers or people directing traffic or people trying to help us, men, we submit to them. We submit our will of wanting to go straight versus take the detour, ma'am. You need to go to the left. We do that. And I think she was just so caught up in being submissive to a boyfriend
Mhm.
that she just couldn't see her way around anything else. It was just, I'm not going to do that because if I do too much submission to him or for him, then he won't reciprocate. But it's just being a lady is what I think she was trying to, having trouble with. That's just something that ladies do. We serve and we cater and we just make sure that people in our environment are okay. And I
Yes.
just think that's what it was. She just
We
kind of got confused.
we are nurturing, and that's
Mhm.
something that, I called that conditional femininity. This on and off switch, right? That women think that they can just do. And when she was talking about it and she was saying, "Oh, the Bible says nothing about a boyfriend." I was like, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry." But that's
I couldn't follow her. So I
I
was just
couldn't
trying
follow
to
the
make,
logic.
yeah. And it almost appeared too that her father was someone that was traditional, but her mother was someone that was modern or thought in modern terms. So she was kind of probably confused about the whole thing, but she was trying to turn it on and off. And you know what? I've heard this before. I have a friend or a lady friend that I really used to have, and she used to say stuff like chore cooking also. And I'm thinking, chore cooking, what exactly is chore cooking? And that's what it turns into if it's not something that you want to do
Mhm.
naturally. It becomes a chore. And I think that could build up resentment. To make you angry at the husband because he's not joining in this chore cooking or whatever the situation is. And it just kind of, I've heard that before. So I was kind of understanding what she was trying to say,
Mhm.
but
I just needed to get that because, I've been s I was waiting for this moment to actually ask you because I actually, um, I'm gonna be releasing a reaction video on that as well. because I was just like, wow, I don't know if I don't have enough context for this video, but I was like, this woman has it all the way off right now. And it's sad, but here's the sad part about it today, because I don't know if you know a little bit about my background. I went from being this
Mhm.
boss babe, feminism was my thing. Like I lived, breathed it, went to the rallies, did the whole thing.
Mm.
And I grew up very traditional. My mom was in the house, my dad
Mhm.
was the main breadwinner. And so growing up, I helped around the house. I did everything with my mom. Like, I was basically watching over my younger siblings.
Mhm.
And then I grew up and learned about feminism and, and girl power and empowerment.
Mhm.
And I learned the modern way. And right, we learn about this in all aspects of life, whether
Right.
you're talking about social media, which by the way, I'm in my 30s. So I was on the beginning part, like we were in the
Mhm.
transition period from school or from having no technology to technology.
Mhm.
And it was embedded in us from very young, like the TV shows and everything. So, I have my professional career. I am like this boss babe entrepreneur, started multiple companies, all this, that, and the third, right? And I was very much a modern woman. Like I was the quintessential, like they want, if if we're talking about what every single manosphere video is, I am that woman. I was that woman.
Okay.
Okay. So to me, like going from this modern version of myself and being more in my masculine, assuming that role, I was very much, this is my way or the highway,
Mm.
all of the time, with friends, family, everyone I knew. And people would say, wow, you're very difficult to be around. Yeah.
Okay.
And, then transitioning into understanding what my roles are in marriage through premarital counseling and marriage counseling and all the counselings, because my husband and I went through intense premarital counseling. It was until that point that I was like, okay, I got to switch up. This is not working for me. My husband my poor husband dealt with the transition phase between modern woman to more feminine and more traditional. But did you find yourself in that same predicament, or were you naturally a more feminine woman from the beginning? Or I would say, does that make sense? First of
Yes,
all,
it does.
shout out to Harrison Family Vlogs. Thank you for the $5. I appreciate it, Andre.
It definitely does make sense. But I decided when I was 19 years old that I was going to be a lady.
Okay.
I was going to do makeup. I was going to do perfume. I was going to get my hair done. I was going to shop. I put that on at 19 and I never wanted to let it go.
I love it.
So I've always been interested in men and having my place and maybe somewhat being taken care of a little, but
Mhm.
still being a smart woman, still being somewhat educated, still being a helper. My mother was a wife and my mother and father was married, both in the home, So I saw a wife in action. So I understood that part, but I knew I needed to be different because I didn't particularly like their life, but I saw what was kind of necessary to make things work, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, I actually used to fight, not fight, but used to get mad at my mom for her role of so much submission because I didn't think my father was deserving.
Mm.
But as I got older, I understood, I
Mhm.
understood her position and I saw it happen. And it was not a turn off, turn on. It was just because this is what I'm supposed to do. So I understood it as I got older. And I grew up without social media. Or
Mhm.
before it
Mhm.
actually came, I should say it like that way. So it never really was enticing to me. So I didn't have that thing in my ear, that said, come on, girl power. I never had that.
Mm.
So it kind of spared me. What happened between me and my husband, as far as I was a worker, my parents both worked very good jobs with very good companies. And that's what I saw them do, so they have a good work ethic. My husband brought to me the entrepreneurship. So he was
Mm.
the dream and visionary for my life. And I just followed him. So me becoming a business owner, the face of the business, I've been a realtor since 2001, actually.
Mm.
So I have my own business also, but it just never took precedent over what the plan was for us.
Mhm.
So I never had that problem. And I'm glad I didn't, because I don't know if I ever been labeled difficult or not, but I do know that in business, sometimes people label me, they say I'm antagonistic
Mhm.
because I do things and implement things with a smile. I don't get mad at you. I just want you to do what I tell you to do and we're
Mhm.
done. So I do get that, but not difficult. So, I mean, being a boss does have its individual problems no matter what side you're on.
Mhm.
And that's been somewhat of my struggle, but I have my husband behind me. So I never got caught up in that. I always wanted my husband to be the man.
Yes, and I had the quite literal opposite of that as well. And it's interesting because, growing up in a more traditional home, I also share the same sentiment as you, where I looked at my mother and father's relationship and I said, "Well, I don't really want that necessarily."
Right.
And it was at that point, and you have to, I also talk about this as well, is there was infidelity in my home. And so watching that happen and saying, "Oh, wow, like I had a stance of what my mother should have done, all of this stuff, right?" Until I got to I had this conversation with my father before he passed, and it was like these lights, like these light up moments for me. Wow, I really saw it through one lens, right? And I didn't know the full picture of what was happening. And I was actually speaking to my sister about it today too. We're like, we see our parents and we think that they have it all together
Yep.
and that they're supposed to have it all together. But they're just trying to figure it out just as much as we are, right? Like, I'm about to have this baby and I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. And my sister the same thing. But it's interesting how we view our parents and hold them to this esteem, and then not understand that they're just human, right?
Regular people.
Regular people trying to figure out relationships
You know
just
what?
as much.
I need to add to what you just said. It's interesting that you said that. My mother actually passed away on Halloween,
Oh, wow. I'm so
and
sorry.
thank you for that. But she lived a outstanding life. Never was sick until she was sick, and then she passed
Mhm.
away the next day. But I want to tell you this. Going back to what you said about the infidelity, that was the same thing in my home,
Mm.
right? And it was all a secret. But it's
Mm.
really not a secret. But I want to tell you this part. About 2 weeks ago, probably about 3 weeks ago now, since my mother's gone, I kind of been filling in the space. You know how you said earlier today, the beneficiary, the
Mhm.
executor. I've been called into action, right? So now what's going on is I feel like my dad is having wanting to have these confession talks and say things.
Mm.
And mom's passed away, so now I'm older, I'm grown actually, and he wants to talk and tell these things. And I'm wondering, did you speak to her about this, or is this thing she heard? But he confessed to me thus far that he has 7 outside kids that I know nothing about. all older than me. Yeah, 7. So when he was disclosing all this information, I said to him, what exactly do you want me to do about this? What is it you want me to do? And he was like, I just wanted you to know, I'm like, and I was like, I asked him, my number one question for him was, are you good in Christ right now? Are you good with God?
Mm-hmm.
He told me yes. So after he said that, I couldn't say anything more.
Mm-hmm.
But, I often wonder, and I want people to take it serious when you're out here exercising these options, because it affects your children. I was a daddy's girl up until about 13 or 14 years old. And it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like he kind of turned me over to my mother. But I needed him to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of left. He didn't go anywhere, but the relationship that we had was no longer. And that is a very important relationship for a young lady, a young girl, a father. So if you have men who have girls, stay in there. You can alter their lives so much by being there for them. That really, and that was one of the reasons why I would say to my mom, I hated the fact that she was submissive, because he was never there. It would be days sometimes where I wouldn't see my dad. He would come in after I went to sleep and be gone by the time I get up in the morning, going to work. He never missed work, and never missed church.
That was my dad.
So it was amazing. And but it's just like you said, as I got older, I understood, but I was like, it's got to be different for me. It cannot be this way. I can't do this. So we have something in common. A lot of things, actually.
We have a lot of things in common.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because so you took that and you doubled down into your womanhood.
Mm-hmm.
I took that information and I said, forget men.
Mm.
And that was one of those moments in my life where I was like, it's up to me to make it for me. It's up to me in this life. And, I am happy and I'm grateful for the experience that I've had, because I don't think that, first of all, I don't think that anything is by accident. And so my testimony is of a reformed woman, right? And that's why I think people come here to this channel, because I come from a place of transparency. You are the same way. You share very transparently, and I mean, almost to a fault in my life. My husband and I are very we say it all to people because we've gone through so much and God has really worked in our lives, and we want to share that. We want to be a testimony to people, say, like, you don't have to live your life this way. Like, you don't have to be hurt. You don't have to be in these places of fear, right? And when I was in my moment of, it's my life, I'm going to be the one that takes care of it, I'm an independent boss babe, that's me, right? I was the most miserable.
Mm.
I thought that I thought I had figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had life figured out in my 20s. I thought I knew everything. And it's a very humbling experience to look at yourself and look at your situation and say, no, you're definitely on the wrong path. Whatever you're doing, you need to make a switch. Like, you need a switch. You need to drop this because this hasn't worked out for you.
Right.
And that's a very hard pill to swallow. Hence why I don't think a lot of women like to acknowledge it.
So let me add something to that, because I struggle with this, because I don't know. It's kind of I don't know about it yet. So I'm still thinking and asking about this, looking for answers. Because what I hear you saying and what kind of happened to both of us is our destinies were somewhat altered.
Mm-hmm.
But is that really true? Because I don't know if that can actually happen.
Correct.
So I don't fight with it. I just struggle with it because what happened with me in that is with my father not being there, I was looking for love. And I had a fiance prior to my husband that I did have my child with, that I was supposed to be married to. Now, listen, I praise God every day that I didn't marry him or that he wasn't my husband. I mean, I thank him every day because he wasn't the one. But unlike yourself, you went against men. My mother, when I met my husband and he went to them both and asked for my hand in marriage, my dad was like, sure, just make sure you monitor your finances and what have you. My mother hated my husband for no reason. None at all. There was no reason. He never did anything wrong, never spoke an unkind word. There was no bad habits. There was nothing. She had no reason, but she hated men. My mother hated men, and she wanted to get in my head, and I was the baby girl, and she had so many plans for me, and being married was not at 25 was not one. Being married at all was not one of them, even though she was married. Stayed in it. And you know what? She even made a comment one time. She said that, and it makes sense now, but she was determined that she was not going to be a single mother with 3 kids. So she would rather be in her household, and some would say be mistreated or what have you. But my dad was a provider. She didn't need for anything, but she wanted him, and he just couldn't get it. He didn't get it. He was exercising options. But that's what happened. She hated my husband, hated him. So for about the first 5 years of our marriage, we pulled away. We went away. We still lived in the same city, of course, but we moved probably about 20 or 30 miles away, and we stayed together, and we did not allow anybody into our relationship. We knew that if we allowed anybody in, it was not going to work. So mother couldn't talk, couldn't touch me, and his parents were different, but they didn't feel the same way, but we just grew together. It was going to make sure that if we came out and was going to have our marriage tried or our relationship tried, we was going to have it together. And we knew that my mother was not one that could be around us because it wasn't going to happen. It couldn't, because she was a very strong figure in my life, and I was going to listen to what she had to say. She had all kinds of terrible examples, and I didn't need to hear them. So.
You have no idea how much I feel like our lives are just because
it's true.
This is very similar, like almost to a T what happened with us as well.
Right.
And we had to protect our relationship. If we had made the decision that we were going to get married. And we had our premarital counselor, who was our pastor, who was shout out to PG. He watches my videos. This man's I wouldn't say he saved our relationship, but we had to understand so much about ourselves and how to operate together. And he uncovered that for us, right? And he said, you need to set boundaries and have discernment if you're going to get married. Because that was discernment that you came to that conclusion. That was discernment that said, okay, we have to set this as a boundary right here. This is, and your mother and father, you take their information, you're like, they know best. They know best for me. And I always thought that was like the truth until I saw other people around us that were invested in our relationship, that have been married for numerous years, that have worked on their marriages, and we were doing premarital counseling, and we were doing together, and we were doing it with a group of people as well, 20, 30, 40 plus years together. And I
Mm,
was like, wow, if they can get through this, we can get through this as well. And that, no relationship is perfect.
no.
No marriage is perfect. No marriage is a walk in the park, right? But if we were going to do this, we needed to double down
Hmm.
and we needed to fight for our relationship and fight for our marriage. And it was having those quintessential people in our lives that spoke life into our relationship that was important to us, and putting aside those people that just were, and you could see that it was coming from a place of their own hurt and their own pain, where these um their opinions and their information that they would bring up in the conversation, it was like, wow, that's not for our benefit, but you're you're talking through something that you haven't addressed quite yet, in yourself. So wow, there's like, guys, I don't know if you're writing this stuff down, like
Though it does kind of it hurts you though to know that one of the people that are so dear to you can't be a part of your life, and
Mhm.
that I'm going to use a modern term that sometimes I'm just going to sometimes the behavior or the sometimes you look at them and you like, you are not my mother. You just you're not. You're not. Just what I'm seeing in you right now is totally something else. It just looks different. So we definitely have to pay attention. We can't, it's just not because. Don't just do something because, we get caught up in these traditions and we do things because they did it, but you cannot do that. You have to figure out what is healthy between you and your spouse and what
Mhm.
will make you out strong. And if you go to your mother or father and they're telling you something against your husband, you got to pull away.
Mhm.
You cannot, because that's not, you got to, whatever you got to do to go towards your husband or your spouse, that's what you have to do. And you got to do it on a daily basis. Don't allow anything to pull you away, because there's nothing perfect and there's no perfect situation. Those are obstacles. Those are just things that are going to make you stronger. And we have to go through them with them. You're becoming one every single day. And the trials make you better, but you got to go through them.
Mhm. And my husband and I call them courageous conversations.
Oh, yes.
And because, it takes courage to sit down and sit in it, right? But through those hurdles and those things that we go through, it makes our relationship stronger and it makes our bond closer. And, the there's so many things I want to talk about. There's so many things, there's so many routes that I could take right now. But it's so true. It's like you have to protect the oneness.
Mm-hmm.
And my pastor used to say, he always said to us, he's like, you all look crazy running around talking crap about each other to other people,
Mm.
right? Spreading your garbage and spreading this nonsense to people that don't want to see you succeed in marriage. They people people that people outside of your marriage and people outside that are just looking in, right? Not everyone has the best intentions. Not everyone has the best things for you.
You're right.
And you have to have discernment. You have to have an understanding of that. And this is where I keep counsel. The people that I go to, A, are married, B, have been married for a while, have either gone through this, a similar situation, that I can say, I'm working on this. Can you help me through this? and I need to take accountability for my side of this,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Because it's easy to be the hero of your own story. It's easy to paint yourself to other people as, oh, he keeps messing up, it's his fault for everything, blah 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 blah. I'm just a saint. I don't do anything. It's never my fault.
Yeah.
Like, baby, no, you got you got it all wrong. But if you go to the wrong people with this information, they will then use it, and then not only use it, but also get resentful for you. Like, if you take this to your parents, right? I took
Mm.
some things early on in my marriage or in our engagement to my mother, and then she would hold a resentment to my fiance or to my now husband when we had already like squashed it, everything was great. We were living our best life, but she was still holding on to that resentment for me.
Yep.
And this is like, I see this all the time. I tell my friends, first work it out with your husband. If you can't work it out with your husband, have a counselor sit in on your conversation. Hopefully someone that you've already worked with, and we have our premarital counselor who has become our marital counselor, right? Then go to accountability partners that are not going to, how do I say this? First of all, they're not my single friends. Sorry, I love my single friends. but,
No.
but I'm not taking any of this stuff to my single friends
No.
whatsoever. I take it to people that I know have endured situations like this, and I say, how can I learn from this situation and change it into, instead of saying, oh, woe is me, and more into, how can I learn from this situation?
You know what? I talk about this all the time. There's a book out there that helped me. It was called The Power of a Praying Wife. And in that book, you find who your husband is. If you've read the book, you find out who it tells you, describes the man that you're with. And it also just outlines a prayer to pray for that man. And I recommend that book to any newlywed or newly married woman. And you have to go back and read that book because your husband changes. But something I learned earlier on in this relationship is I cannot change my husband. The only thing that I can do is change myself.
Exactly.
So I often pray, or I did pray for compassion for my husband. And he actually showed my husband to me, so I could actually live better with him, because now I'm understanding him.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the time what we do is we just operate in the flesh, and we're like, oh, you're just doing this and this and this and this, because we're just seeing the flesh. We don't get to the fact of what is making him operate this way. And that was one of my prayers, is I need to get to know this man, because I want to know why he moves needs to have the pepper on the right instead of the left. You got to figure out who you're dealing with. And the only way to do that is to ask for that kind of, discernment, or, find out who he is. God, just show me who he is. So that's what I do. That's what I did. And now we've gotten to the point we don't even argue anymore. So I don't know now. I can't even begin. I was going to tell you when this all stops or when it gets better for you, but I don't remember. But you just kind of grow out of that and just go on to something else.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, because my husband and I don't argue. We don't have those yelling matches the way that I mean, and here's the thing, I call myself out. It was primarily me who was trying to get a rise out of him to figure out what kind of a man he was.
Right. But it makes sense, doesn't it? You have that in you.
Oh yeah. Oh
So,
yeah.
it makes sense.
Oh, I was a contentious woman. Okay. And my main love language, if we want to talk about love languages, is what's it called? Attention. My first love language is attention. It says it's different in the book. What is it? Quality time, they like to call it.
Drop off the quality,
right?
Add the time. That's all you want. Your attention.
I need uninterrupted time with my husband. And yeah, for me, it was me starting a lot of the
Yeah.
fights. And I think a lot of, and to be fair, I think it's a lot of women starting their own problems in their relationship, because I tell here, and this is why I say this, because men are very simple. My husband is a simple creature. Like literally, he's getting home from work right now. I made him his food. He's gonna sit down, watch a little bit TV, and he's gonna go to bed. Take a shower, go to bed. Like he doesn't need all of this attention. He doesn't need all of this stuff. He wants to be in the same room as me, but he doesn't need to be talking to me and having these deep conversations with me at all times. Whereas for me, I'm having full blown mental like conversations with myself. We talked about this
Yeah, we
earlier.
did. That's why I laughed.
How,
Yeah.
how I talk to myself. I talk to myself out loud. I talk to myself in
Mhm.
my head. And, a lot of the initial issues from the beginning of our relationship was just me starting it. And it was a problem. I mean, it was a problem. Now, you know, eh, we I like to say, like, I made a video or not recently, but on my channel about a nagging wife. And the
Mm,
Bible talks about nagging wives, right?
yeah.
And how frustrating it can be. And it we become nagging because we want to control the outcomes. That's my opinion. I want to control everything. Please, I
Ooh.
want I want you to share a little. I need you to share a little
I'm
bit
a, I'm a
because
little bit.
you're thinking
I'm,
about
I'm
this.
I'm out to lunch on the nagging part because sometimes, well, let me just say this: things need to be done. Okay, if the trash is running over, I don't need to. I shouldn't have to ask you twice to empty the trash. Definitely not 3 times. So sometimes I think nagging for men, it comes from the wife asking them, that things that to do list. But I think if you just do it, then she'll shut up. But I mean, I don't know, but I can see that. I can see that women can just be talking too much also. So
Mhm.
it's just like you said, if you have a husband that likes quiet time and doesn't talk too much, then if you're constantly just in his ear knowing that he's not that talker, then that would be nagging to him. But I
Mhm.
just always associate nagging to chores and things of that nature, and I would just tell the men, just do it. It's a simple way to end this thing. Take out the trash or
Well,
whatever.
and I will, and maybe we have something that we don't necessarily agree on, which is funny because here's the thing, it's like when it comes to simple tasks like that, like take out the trash, my husband knows that he's going to do it anyway. But it's like those things that I'm very particular about. Like my husband doesn't hang up clothes because he doesn't know how to put a shirt on a hanger correctly. I love him. I love him. He knows how to separate the laundry, right? Which is amazing. That's what I'm saying. It's like finding the things that your husband is good at and saying, "Babe, do that." And not getting caught up in the, "Oh, I don't like the way you wash the dishes," because a man is like, the more nagging a woman becomes about these things, the more the husband's going to be like, "I'm not she clearly has a problem with everything that I do. If I don't wash the dishes right, she's going to say something about it. So I'm not going to wash the dishes at all." So I tell women, I said, find the things that your husband, he can't mess up. Taking out the trash, taking out the recycle.
That's funny because I don't let my husband do much at all because I don't even want to have a conversation.
Right?
He's tired.
Exactly.
I think he asked me today, can I wash the clothes? No. I just told him, no, you can't. I won't mess him up. I said, I know, but no.
Exactly.
I don't
Because
even bother him with that. It's just, I just do certain things I do, but like, I don't even bother. Women, we should just know better. Some things we just know, and it's just not, they're not going to do it. They think more singular than we do. We think more squared and we get the crumbs in the corner. They don't even see the crumbs in the corner. So it's not, no, I don't even, those are just things that you should just get over, and I think people do as they mature. So,
Yes, exactly, and that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like you can either obsess about these things and live a miserable life
and
as
nag, like you
and
said.
nag,
Yeah.
right? Or you
Hmm.
can just shut your mouth and do it. It's not that hard. Like
Nope.
it's not
Mm-mm.
that difficult. And I
Mm-mm.
think I think, and here's the thing too, my husband works very hard. Like he gets up in the morning at 7 o'clock. He's at home. He's coming home probably right now. He should be walking through the door, but he works very hard. And so making a plate for him, washing the dishes, making sure that the house is clean, making sure he has a clean towel. These are not that hard. These are not that difficult to do. This is not rocket science. Like, this should be something that if you're like, I work from home, so I can do
In
things
between. Mhm.
simultaneously. I
Yep.
can put the dinner on, I can make sure that the laundry is running, I can make sure that the clothes are put away. It's not that hard. It's
No.
really not that difficult. But here's where, I think becomes the issue is that women like wives expect that their husbands are going to be doing things, and expectations are premeditated resentments if you haven't had this conversation with your husband.
I definitely agree with you, and the conversation needs to be had. But I think eventually, once the conversation is had, I think all women should rejoice in managing their homes or their space. I mean,
Correct.
a clean house with polished furniture, a nice made bed, smell good, plug-ins throughout. What you call it, the shortbread candle burning in the kitchen. That brings me joy. I like that kind of stuff. So I just don't know. Men, I could just tell you need to be vetting these women before you marry them, because somebody got to do these things. It just can't be undone, because you cannot think in an unkept house. And if there's stuff everywhere, your thought process is just jacked up. It just won't work. We need order. The house need order. So, the woman needs to manage the home and bring the order. And when I mean manage the home, I'm talking about the operations of it.
Mhm.
Being kept, you know, making sure the food is there, whether you're preparing it or not, whether you're preparing it, going and get it, whatever the situation is. It needs to be a comfortable spot when that man comes home to relax. And I agree with you totally with that. So that's our
Yeah.
job.
It's l- it's our job and we should take pride in it. And I think that that's the thing as well, is like women have lost. I've actually talked about this on my channel so many times about like this level of success because of modern times. Women have have associated success with career success, and they think that a home, like raising good children,
Mm,
making sure that your house is in order, all of these things, because we're not paid for our time, that it's not valuable or successful. And that is where I have an issue because because my like I'm about to have this baby in February, okay? My role is to love my husband, serve my husband, and take care of my kids and make sure that these kids are raised correctly. And I'm joyful about it, and it's not a chore. It's I feel accomplished, I feel satisfied, I feel successful
mm.
knowing that I can do these things. And I went from being, "Oh, success is I raised $1,000,000 this quarter, and now, like, I've allocated all of my money, and I make 6 figures, and this, that, and the third." I lived that life. I lived that life. But if there's no one that you're coming home to, what's the point?
You're right. But I got a question for you.
Mhm.
Do you think it's possible to do both?
I think that there will be lack wherever wherever it is. So if you want to be a successful career woman and put your career ahead, or if you want to advance in your career, sure, you can do that, but you have to understand that you're going to lack somewhere else in the household or raising your children. Someone's going to have to raise your kids, something like that, right? I don't think that you can have your cake and eat it too, in the sense of like what we see as successful today. Maybe as your as the children have grown up more
Mm-hmm.
and they're in school and they're, doing other things, but in the beginning stages of raising children, that time should,
No.
in my opinion, should be dedicated towards the children.
Right. I asked that question because, well, my kids are adults. Everybody
Mhm.
been gone a long time because I did a real estate business. Like I said, I've been in real estate for a long time, and I used to work upward of maybe 3 to 4 times a week, kind of like what you do now. Maybe
Mhm.
actually showed houses 3 days a week, made well over $100,000 for at least 4 years in a row when I was
Mhm.
busy at it, and I could have had a child at home doing that also. So sometimes I think it depends on the career that you actually choose. But I did spend a lot of time on the phone, so I'm agreeing with you saying that it's a timing situation. When you first have the kids, you need to be about your children. But later on, as they grow older and things of that nature, you can kind of divide your time a little bit. But I still think, even with being security boss and having a brick and mortar business, I'm still managing my home. I still have a
Mhm.
responsibility here at home that I have to take care of. So I just still think that's a woman's role to do so. If you want to
Mhm.
do both, you can, but I think you can. But like you said, something will go lacking, and then you got to like drop it down a little bit. You need to have one of those careers that, for me, I would say to be an entrepreneur. But if you're working for someone else, good luck.
Mhm. And I agree to that, because here's the thing, YouTube, I'm very, very, I'm very systematic when it comes to my content. I film on certain days. I know when the videos are gonna come out, and it doesn't take up a majority of my time. Let's say more like a 9 to 5, like a regular 9 to 5, or like the business that I had before, where I was the CEO and I was literally the face, raising money, marketing, sales, all of it. Like I was everything and nothing at the same time. I wore all the hats, right? You doing YouTube and making money off of YouTube and having this space, it is my career.
Mhm.
It is what I spend my time doing, but it doesn't take a majority of my time.
Right.
And so I can still be a mom, and we're going to find this out right now in the next
Yep.
month
Mhm.
if I can do it. But my goal is to take care of my child first.
Right.
If I can't make 2 videos a week and just post 1 video a week, that's all I can do. But I can contribute to my household. I can contribute to, the funds here,
Mhm.
but my number one goal is to make sure my daughter is fed,
Right.
change her diaper, all of that stuff. So I do agree in that sense, but
Mhm.
what I say is, if you want to be this successful career-driven woman, there are anomalies. There are
Mhm.
anomalies, right? But I think there's more women struggling to do it all
Yeah.
and finding themselves miserable and taking a lot on their shoulders, too much, than otherwise, if that makes sense.
It definitely does, and COVID has brought out the best of it,
Correct.
because when you have daycares that are closed, when schools that are closed, mom has to stand up. And I think a lot of them are actually turning around. Not that I mean, it's kind of interesting because but I think a lot of women are now figuring it out, are seeing that there are better time is better spent at home with their kids, and the money that they make is much better, or time is much better spent with their kids, and the money is not weighing out. The value doesn't matter. They much rather be with their children.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no stability in going to work for 2 weeks and then got to do virtual with your kids, or the school shutting down, daycare closing down, then you lose your job anyway. So why not just stay at home, save some money on lunches, gas, commute, clothing, all of that stuff, and take care of your family. And I think they're going back that way, regardless if they want to or not. I think some of them are figuring it out that it's a good decision to do so.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And this Rona situation definitely made it more apparent for women. And a lot of women also said, "Wow, I don't even want to go back to work."
Right.
Like the amount of joy and happiness that they're getting and fulfillment that they're getting from raising their children change their perception and perspective on the whole situation. And a lot of them, to be honest, like, here's the thing too, a lot of people now require two-income households in order to live and serve and basically survive. So it then becomes another point of contention. Be like, I want to stay home and this is my desire to stay home. And now the conversation needs to be like, hubby, I want to stay
Mhm.
home with the babies. How do we make this work?
You know what though? It's definitely a conversation, because daycare is so expensive now. The husbands, and people are getting paid more money now too, or the husband get a better job, get a little more education, get some more certificates, or whatever they need to do to multiply their income. But it's definitely a conversation, because daycare is like $250, $300 a week
You ain't lying.
per child. So if you got 2 kids, come on, that's like seven. No, stay at home, mom. And then you save a lot of money. Guess what? Even if you have to go down to one car for a time,
Yes.
all those, there's so many ways. No cable, just stream. Look at us all day. How about that? For free. So it's some
Exactly.
things you can do to save money to grow your kids up and have a happy home. And then if you're not crazy, mom, with dealing with the public all day or what have you, or dealing with the stresses from your boss or whatever, you could be a better wife.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what we got to get back to.
Absolutely. Before we jump into some more conversation, first of all, guys, thank you for all of the comments. We're seeing them come in. Thank you for engaging here with us. Please like the video, and I'm going to open up the StreamYard for you guys to ask us questions about marriage. There's so many, like, security boss. I've literally gone through two topics that I wanted, two
I know.
questions that I wanted to go through. So we're definitely going to have to keep having this conversation
No
over and over again.
We could probably talk
Um,
about this all. I probably could talk about this for 26 years.
Me too. And here's the thing. So guys, wait, first of all, the call in is on the screen if you want to get into the stream. We'll let you in. Have some questions ready for us if you have any questions or any thoughts on what we've talked about so far. But, I really want to talk about gifts and talents in marriage, because I think that the narrative right now is that men are supposed to do everything in the marriage, right? They're supposed to provide, protect, do all of that stuff, which is what they have to do. But then they're supposed to pay all the bills. They're supposed to, do all of these things, and women are just sitting there like, I'm just
Looking
looking
pretty.
pretty.
Yeah. That is not how it is at all. That's not real.
So talk to me a little bit about the dynamic, if you want to share a little bit of the dynamic in your relationship and what you think about this idea, and if you agree with the narrative.
I just think it's impossible and it doesn't make sense. If you got a brilliant wife that adds to you, that you've become one with, that you chose, that you have value in, why would you not ask for her assistance or whatever, help doing whatever needs to be done? In my home, my husband is the youngest retired man I have ever seen in my life. He knows how to delegate. Let's just say that. He's the number one delegator. He started his business back in 2005, which is a security firm. We are now, we own the business together. And he made me the face of the business in 2013. Now, everybody knows as a Black woman, I'm a minority and I'm a woman. So there's benefits of me being the face of the business all the way around everywhere I go. So that's what he did. That was his decision to do. I actually run the operations. He's the IT person. He gets the contract. He's the CEO. He's the chief. I'm actually the captain. And that's how we run our business. And we've been doing it since 2013 that way. I'm a little bit more clever. I don't have to write things down. I remember things. I'm gifted in that way. He understood that a long time ago. He makes the money. I pay the bills with his money. And that's just what we do. It's just not hard at all. I show him exactly what we do. I said, if something ever happens, this is what I do. I put all the little bills there by date. You pay everything from the 1st to the 15th on the 1st and everything from the 16th to the 31st on the 16th. That's how it's done. You pay bills twice a month. That's it. He said, if I need to do it, I'll do it. But otherwise, I do that. I go through it like that, and he doesn't have to think about a thing. And he appreciates that, so he can do other things. Like I said to you earlier today, there would be no security boss without my husband. I'm not the electronic person. I'm not the camera guy. I don't know anything about this. He does it all. So he constantly promotes me, and I constantly motivate him. So that's just how we fit together. And he's the initiator and I'm somewhat the closer. And that's what we've been doing our entire life. So, well, not entire life, but the whole time we've been married. Once we fell into our roles, we understood them and we've been working in them the whole time. We work together every day. We're together every day. Someone asked the question, like, don't you get tired? No, I never do, because he goes upstairs, I go downstairs, he goes to his man cave or garage or whatever. And I just do, we're not in each other's faces, but we're fine. And it's just been like that. We've been working together the whole time. So it's just for us.
I love that, because, the narrative or like the mainstream I don't think it's actually mainstream, but, we hear all the time, oh, the man's supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be sitting here twiddling my thumbs. No. I pay the bills in the relationship too. He puts, it's his money, but I ran businesses for multiple years. I know how to run a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
He saw my strengths, right?
Exactly. That's it.
He saw my strengths and he said, you are better than that than I am. And a good leader, this is what I wanted to get at. A good leader leads by example. He gets down in the trenches. A leader goes to the lowest position in the company, understands it, doubles down there, and serves at all points. He's not a tyrant. He doesn't walk around here stomping his feet. He knows what I'm good at.
Yep.
He knows what he's good at. My husband is a natural salesman. He literally can sell ketchup to a woman wearing white gloves. He's amazing at it. He's amazing at it. But when it comes to organization, I ran operations. I know how to do all this stuff. Like, why wouldn't I? It takes me 2 seconds to do it. But it takes a good leader to understand this is something that I learned in business. A good leader will offload that. If it's not their strength, they will offload it to someone that is better. They'll hire out for that position.
Delegate. That's what they do.
Delegate.
You know what? Yeah, exactly. I often say this. This is my little thing. You said all of it, but the thing I didn't hear you say yet, but it requires it. A leader, a good leader is someone who is top-notch servant, but he's humble. They're
Yes.
humble to enough to know that this is not what I'm good at. Let me
Mhm.
let her do it. And that's what sometimes these leaders or men are, these alpha males are missing: humility. They want to be able to say that they do it all. But it's,
Correct.
listen, if you get your good woman behind you that you're growing one with or whole with, you don't have to do it all. She'll take that off of you. It's just, and you can trust her. That's the thing.
Exactly.
You can trust her. Yeah.
Exactly. We have a super chat. Thank you so much for the $5, the Christian Fam channel. My Oh, is that a sound effect?
Listen,
Sure,
you
it is
asked
clapping.
apply it.
It says, she said, the channel says, my and me and wait, I don't know.
My and I. My and I.
My and I have been married for over 17 years. Wow, that's incredible.
Mhm.
Women working outside the home is a broken model. We realized this before Rona. Yeah. And that's the thing, is like you got to find what works for your marriage, for your relationship. I
Mhm.
think, it's easy to speak in generalities. It's very easy to do that, right? Because it ticks off a lot of boxes for a lot of people. But then you have to understand that every every relationship, every marriage is nuanced. And
Yes,
you're never going to fit that particular model 100%. You have to take everything with a grain of salt, right? You take the good. My husband says, you eat the meat, spit out the bones.
correct.
Eat the meat, spit out the bones. With everything. With everything.
But still you have somewhat of a blueprint. And I don't know if you
Correct.
mentioned this. We our marriage is built on godly principles. That's your
Mhm.
blueprint. Everything else can fall into place. Just like you said with the expectations. Have conversations so there won't
Mhm.
be any resentment. Just have the conversations. Either
Correct.
going in or as you go. Keep the
Correct.
conversations going.
I love it. Okay, we got someone. We got Daniel. Let me add you. Hi, Daniel.
Hello,
Hi,
Daniel.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm watching here almost 3 a.m. in Norway.
3 a.m. in Norway. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
yay, Daniel. Gosh.
Do you what do you think about the conversation? Do you have any questions?
Well, being a Norwegian, we have a really secular society. So the God stuff and really having to live with only one salary and not having two salaries, it's pretty much impossible. So
Hmm.
it's really interesting to listen to.
Hmm.
And you guys operate more with an egalitarian system.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Absolutely,
And how
but yeah. Well, I can say in my relationship, we have sort of a semi-traditional model
okay.
because both me and my girlfriend work. We are students as well, but to some extent practice roles that and then makes it possible for us to practice our traditional gender roles in a sort of a natural symbiosis of some sort.
And do you find that it is natural for you guys, even though you live in a society that says otherwise?
Well, I think the media image of this is very one-sided. So it's really hard to find media and culture in Norway that really promotes these traditional values. So you have to sort of do it your own way. It's kind of new and exciting for us to just figure our way through things. But we really see other couples, other people we know dating and so forth. It seems weird what they're doing. I don't understand their choices, and it doesn't work. And their relationships doesn't really seem to be focused on settling down and having families. It's really short term, and I have trouble understanding it sometimes.
So, Daniel,
Interesting.
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What is one of your major conflicts in your relationship?
Oh, that's really interesting. Um, it's really good right now. It's really hard to have a conflict that comes to mind. I think maybe sorting out the roles and maybe how to figure out with our families to make them understand what we're doing. I think that sometimes is a challenge because both of us have siblings who really doesn't do it this way and have trouble stating and don't really go this way. So it's that's a challenge. But me and my girlfriend doesn't really have topics that comes up again and again. I think we're really focused on communication and communicating about communicating. So we evolve as we communicate, and we don't really have arguments many times. We solve them when we talk about them.
She sounds like your friend. Is she?
Well, in some way. She's my girlfriend and my friend. I think that's possible, and I think it sort of has to be that way.
Yes.
It depends on what you put into the term friend, though.
We always say that it's very important that your spouse be your friend. Very important.
Some people would actually say that if your girlfriend is a friend, it isn't like sort of girlfriendy enough. So it depends on the term friend, I would say.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you guys have chosen to go this more traditional route in a society that very much preaches and it shows examples of the opposite of, I guess, more modern times. And I find it fascinating because I feel more people are learning this and finding spaces on the internet like here talking about it, because you can't find it on your mainstream channels, right?
Yeah, I must say I resonate a lot with just your story, Rebecca, going from the sort of more wild side over to the more traditional route. I find a lot of commonalities with it, because I've been there myself, and I don't really like looking back at it. So I think a lot of people sort of settle into that way of thinking, but they have to learn the faults with the original, more feminist way of thinking in the first place. And some people don't really learn that lesson, at least not until it's too late, and that's worrying to me.
I agree. I love that you shared this perspective with us, because we hear it here in our culture all the time, but I feel like there has been a resurgence in traditional values, or at least I'm seeing that, and it's really encouraging to see other people from Norway, from a whole other place in the world, coming to these similar things, these similar conclusions as well. So it's awesome to hear from you. Do you have anything else that you want to share?
Yeah, well, I thought originally I was just getting brought in for a single question, so I had that prepared, but it was really interesting to have a chat with both of you. So my question really is, why religion always, not always, but many times are very central in the message of traditional gender roles and so forth. In my perspective, not being very much of a godly or religious person, I find the message compelling, very much compelling, with no need for religion and pretty much just evolutionary psychology and so forth. Why is religion necessary?
Security boss, you want to go?
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't say it's religion. I would just say I'm a follower of Christ, and it's basically the principles of God. And a lot of different religions have principles that I think will also work. But I grew up in this, so that's why it's for me. But as far as the Christian or Christianity religion, I'm a little skeptical sometimes myself of that. I don't. I have to make sure I make good judgments on my own when that comes coming to that. So
And
hope-
could I follow up really quickly? Do you think it's possible to do it this way atheistically?
say that last word again.
Is it possible to do this by being like an atheist or agnostic, not believing in any higher power of any sort?
Not believing in any higher power? No, I don't. Because it has to be something outside of yourself. Because if you're believing in yourself and your own will, then that's not going to allow you to see the other person.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. My point was going to be that when I serve my husband and my husband serves me, and in our relationship, we look at it like this. It's a triangle. I'm here, he's here, and God's here. So I'm not doing things for my husband because it's my husband. Yes, I like doing it, but I'm serving God ultimately because in service to my husband, if that makes sense. So when you can look to a higher power, it makes your connection and your relationship not about you. And like Security Boss was saying, if it's about you, you'll get caught up in your feelings. You'll get caught up in your emotions. You'll get caught up in your flesh. And the flesh sometimes will do what it wants.
Yeah.
And it requires, and I'm not going to say that it cannot be done. I'm sure there's anomalies like yourself that it can be done. But for the most part, it becomes more challenging when you rely on yourself and you're acting as God as well, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really interesting. If I can ask,
yeah, sure.
This is a really new perspective to me. I don't really come across it even with people who pretty much agrees with my point of view on traditional gender roles. But doesn't sort of without the godly stuff about it, doesn't the challenge become greater, but also the win greater if you succeed?
If you do believe in a higher power?
No, if you don't believe in the higher power,
okay.
Like you said, using it to serve sort of God when serving your husband, as you said, and also resisting urges and the flesh and so forth. Doesn't it become a greater achievement if you surpass the greater challenge doing this without the godly stuff involved with it?
So let me say this. It all goes back to your beliefs. And then I think Rebecca said earlier on, nothing's by chance. For me, all things are spiritual. Even if you don't believe, you're still dwelling in a place where spiritual is in control. But I want to go back a little bit with her. When we get married and we make vows, our vows are a covenant. The covenant is a promise that we've made to the higher being to do something. That's not, we're doing something for the husband. The commitment is to the husband. The covenant and the promise goes to the higher power. When you operate without it, you're operating with a contract. And lots of times contracts are definitely fulfilled and they're successful, but people tend to want to break contracts or amend them. And that's what keeps us. That's the difference. A covenant is straight up promise to do something. And I'm not going to disappoint. This is the comments. There's just no going back on it. Contracts, we can amend, we can add to, we can break. And that's the difference. You know, the commitment is to the person. I'm committed to my husband. But the covenant is to the higher power.
I agree 100% with what Security Boss just said.
But if you're successful with your contract, then you did good.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, that just means you all have agreements that you both agreed and you good communicators. I definitely think it could work, but I still think the higher power is in control, whether you've given him reverence for it or not. So, you know,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I just think having the option to go out makes the achievement of staying in higher, isn't it? Well, having a sort of compelled that you should stay in, and this is your sort of semi-religious duty, if you can say that way. Doesn't this weaken the achievement of staying in and staying together?
Well, let me say this. Again, it goes to your beliefs, but we believe that within that covenant, there are a lot of blessings. There are a lot of things that you receive that are good for you. As long as you stay within that covenant, you are good per se. You're just good. You're going to be okay because you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. You're doing exactly what you were designed to do. The whole circle is complete. The reason why men are here, the reason why a woman is here, the reason why they're together is complete if you're operating within that covenant. So it's kind of purposeful. It completes it. You make each other better people. Now, also remember, well, again, it goes back to your beliefs. At the beginning, there was a man in the rib of the woman, and then now we're becoming one again. So now we're in completion, and we're just following out or demonstrating the word as it was written. So again, though, that's just the belief, and there's power in that belief. But again, those contracts you're talking about, or those agreements, I think can also work. But you have to ask, I mean, I would need to talk to someone that had certain agreements. That's why I ask you, have you had any issues, or has there been anything that really is making you ponder on being in this relationship? Because you said everything is good right now. So I really had nothing to go on, but I would love to hear some of your struggles if there are any. But if you don't have any, then I'm saying your agreement is definitely working.
Yeah, I wasn't really prepared to call in and have relationship counseling, so I hadn't really thought through any issues that I could bring up. I could, of course, ask my girlfriend. She probably could come up with at least one.
I do want to say this, though. I am no counselor. I'm just only speaking of belief and my experience. So,
same.
That's sometimes better than counseling.
I just don't want to be responsible for something I didn't do or say. Definitely.
But thank you, Daniel, so much. We appreciate it, and I'm so happy to see that it's working for you. And best of luck with everything. And it was nice to hear from you, especially from Norway. Like, come on. I wish I had an applause thing right now. Security boss, let's get the applause.
Yeah, as we say in Norway, we say ha det bra. It's goodbye.
I'm not gonna even try that. Ciao. Ciao.
Yeah, ciao.
Ciao. Wow, I love that.
Yeah, that was good.
We have a super chat that came in, and Lizzie Pants, thank you so much for the $10 or $9.99. It's $10. It says, I realized through C19 how many of us parents put our kids' overall well-being and growth before material things. I left a great salary to be with my children and serve my husband. They are what really matter. I love that. That. And that's the thing, is like, these things, you have to come to that realization. No one else is going to come to that realization except yourself. And it required this moment in time for that to happen. So I love that. Thank you for the $9.99. We have a caller in the back. I'm going to bring tradition versus modern into the chat. Hello.
What's going on? Awesome show tonight, Rebecca. I see you on Lapeef, so I had to jump on, and it's actually my first time, so I've never been on the show talking, but I'm kind of nervous now.
Don't be nervous. We're all nervous. I'm nervous.
Okay, awesome. Security bus.
What do you got for us?
How are you?
Awesome. Thank you for speaking on what you said on the show. It's especially being a believer, we need these kind of conversations, because what actually made me want to create this new name for this channel. I'm not actually, my username is actually Moses, my code name from my other channel, but my new channel is Tradition versus Modern. The reason why I'm actually making this, I'm bringing this up now because we see a lot of modern views conflicting traditional views. And I think we really have to start seeing the bigger picture with these things happening in mind, because if we want to understand what created the biggest foundation, look at traditional views and the values. It makes sense. Why are we trying to run to these modern ways and make it seem normal when the traditional values stood longer in today's times that we are today? Kind of makes sense.
It makes very good sense, but you have to actually bring a person to a point where they realize that what they're doing is not working, or they won't ever be able to see your point. And then when you get them to the point where they see that what they're doing is not working, you still can't give it all to them at one time, because again, they don't have that belief system. So they don't really know what realm they're actually operating in. They still think they control something. So you have to still kind of work with them a little bit and just love on them and continue to hear, their thoughts, and just tell them a little bit about or be examples. And I think that's the problem. We don't have enough examples of people talking and saying what is good and what is real.
And I also want to jump in and say, we can have, everyone's talking about progressivism and we have to progress forward and it's the modern way and this, that, and the third, right? But if we're progressing towards destruction, how is that beneficial to our society, right? Like, we're seeing these things today. We're seeing women not wanting to get married. And I would say there's less women wanting to get married. There's less men wanting to get married. And what it startles me, because I'm sitting over here like, guys, come hear this wealth of knowledge, right? But you can't, what's that saying? You can't bring a horse to water and make it drink, or something like that.
You can't bring a horse to the water and force him to drink.
Exactly, right? And so a lot of people don't know the goodness of this and this information and the wealth of this information. And to Security Boss's point, right? Like, there has to be some level of change that that person wants to go through. You can't force feed this to people, because people are not going to take it. They're going to run away from it. And the truth hurts. The truth is not an easy pill to swallow for people, right? You have to look at yourself in the eye and say, this is what happened to me. I had to look at myself and say, girl, you've been doing this whole thing, this song and dance, for 8 years. You are still in this situation. You are no closer to having a husband. That's what you want. How is that possible? And it was that realization moment for me, right? That was like, oh, the light came on. I've been doing like this, the way that I've been living served a purpose, right? Served my desires for career, all of that stuff. But I also wanted family and a husband, but I was not doing anything for that. Like, I was not even, we have like a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, business plans. We got freaking, PowerPoints. But when it comes to our lives, we're like, oh, I don't have that planned out. I don't have my personal life planned out. What do you I'm just winging it, And so I think a lot of people are more in the camp of, I'm winging it.
Yeah.
You know what? We may be in survival mode and they not know it. I actually think we are in survivor mode and we're not knowing it. But that would be still the by chance that Daniel showed up on your panel tonight. He needed to hear something. So, you got to just keep doing what you do, and those who hear will hear, and some won't.
Yeah. I think from personal experience, and I'll just share this. Yes, I've dated mostly Black women, of course, and I'm speaking on this because it's kind of relevant to what we're talking about for marriage. and it was only for 7 months for me, with this relationship. We had to get an annulment, you know what I'm saying, after that. Realizing you really have to know someone through their families, you know what I'm saying? Well, how their family treated them growing up. Because I think the issue with me having experience with somebody that wasn't um a fully complete person, like I'm not saying completely healed, but haven't had therapy, hasn't been exposed to different cultures, haven't understand different people around her. Like the thing is with guys today, we have to be very mindful who we're picking. Plus, women also have to be mindful who they're talking to with men, because like you said, marriage, it's important to understand who you're dealing with, because you're marrying that family. I think Amira said this in her show, and I bring this up because it's relevant to this, you know what I'm saying? But we as men and women have a responsibility, and I really believe we marry somebody, we believe everything they believe, we bring it to a whole new generation, we raise into the next generation, right? Because obviously my family, we're African. I'm a Ghanaian. You know what I'm saying? My mom's from Ghana, my dad's from Liberia. But the thing is, they never did a lot of things they put in me that I do today. That I don't have any piercings in my body. I didn't pierce my ears. I never had tattoos. Never accepted that because I didn't see the point. And I've come across a lot of Christian women, in my perspective, that have not realized, yes, if you're a Christian, your body's not your own. It's for the Lord. And I've met so many that want to be lenient and start following the world and start saying, well, it's an art thing, it's passion. It's like, okay, but is that glorifying God? And it's not. And it's just a lot of these new waves that's coming in. They're starting to get bombarded with these new views. It's like, you can be a Christian and do this and like stand on the line. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm like, it makes me not want to even want to talk to the American Christian. It's like outside of America, they're more understanding of that, because I'm in the Orthodoxy, and I don't call myself Orthodoxy publicly, but I usually don't tell people. But I'm a Christian, but I believe in Orthodoxy is more traditional. And a lot of Christians today in America, I've noticed, are not standing strong in the Scripture, and it's like the Bible says New Testament time, but why do we not talk about what God is saying there? And it's like the Bible says, oh, not the Bible, but the quote is, don't be so heavenly minded that you know earthly good, and don't be so earthly minded that you know heavenly good. There's a balance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Oh,
Go ahead, security boss.
yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. And being Orthodox, you said, I'm assuming that you're more into the Old Testament and the ways of God. But the reason why people don't, okay, I have given themselves a little bit of a out, I suppose, is because Jesus died on the cross for all our sins, and
Yes.
they don't want to. That's where they want to stop. Let's just say it like that. Okay.
It's super liberal. Yeah.
They want to stop there. I don't know if it's super liberal at all, but because everybody has to have their own way to get their power. I'm gonna say that. But what I find is the most important thing is the relationship that you have with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
That's what convicts you. That's what keeps you out of the streets. That's what keeps you as a good wife. That's what makes you want to be a better husband. It's the relationship. The relationship that allows the Holy Spirit to actually dwell in you is what keeps you. I don't care how many scriptures you know, how many you can quote. I've heard here recently, you only really need to know 3, and they all from John. So it does that is not what's going to get you there. I hate to say it, but it's the relationship that you have, because with relationship, there comes power. And with that power comes the wisdom of the Holy Spirit that can actually help you lead someone to Christ. If you don't have that, you're really you're just talking. So that's
Amen.
my concentration to people. That's where this is funny. This is where Rebecca and I earlier were talking about how and you know what, you may do this too. We talk to ourselves all the time. We're always reckoning to each other, to ourselves all the time, thinking me in my head, but it's actually audible. And that is me speaking and asking God for answers and asking him to use me and to make things clear to me in order for me to share. And this is all things. This could be some of the smallest stuff. This is actually crazy, but he gives me wisdom in those things that that I can use. You know, he connects the dots. He makes all of it just make sense to me. He makes it clear. And that would be what I would ask anyone to do, because I don't judge on the Christianity part or being a Christian or the religion, because we all know religion is the way that we supposed to, you know, display our acts. You know, that's just the way we worship. But if it has no power, why are we repeating it and just constantly judging on who does it better? You know, who came to church earlier? You know, is she wearing red nail polish? Does she have on makeup? You know, that's we're powerless if we can't tell this person why they don't need to do this, or how it affects the world, or how is it not pleasing to Christ. That's what you said earlier. Am I pleasing God? That's your point. If they don't know why they're not pleasing them, just telling them that they're not is not helping. They have to have their own conviction. We have to bring them to a point of conviction. And we can't do that just throwing out scriptures. We have to lead them to some sort of relationship. And I think, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, I agree. It's, you don't just throw scripture out. You don't.
Yeah. And I will say too, I think, so, you know, I operate in, how do I say this? I believe in progress over perfection. And I am the quintessential prodigal son, daughter dynamic, right? I was that daughter. I was that son in the parable, right? So we have to understand that we are, you know, we have this fleshly nature side of us, right? We're not perfect beings. The only one that's perfect is Christ. And, you know, we aspire to be more like Christ, but we're always going to fail. Like, we're never going to get to a point where we reach a level of perfection or it's enough, you know, it's never going to be enough. And so sometimes I think, you know, when I hear some of these things being said, to me, it completely disregards the whole, we're progressing to be better every single day, right? Like, we need to work on ourselves and get to a place of betterment every single day, but we're gonna eventually stumble. We're eventually gonna fail, you know? And so I have a hard time, like, I'm having a hard time with this because, you know, I'll be transparent here. I got tattoos.
Yeah.
I got tattoos on my body, right?
And understandable.
So
I mean,
we have to understand that we're living in the world, but we have to be transformed by the renewing of our minds through Christ.
Exactly.
And so when we're talking about this perfectionism that we're seeing today, it's like, oh, I got to be this, and this is what's going to make me a good wife, or this particular this, and this is going to make me a good husband. No, we got to work with each other. My husband, you know, I stumble in my relationship, he stumbles in the relationship, but we're working towards a greater goal. And so sometimes we can get lost in the sauce of, we got to be perfect, or she has to be specifically this way, or he has to be specifically this way, and that's the only way things are going to work. No, we're going to be fully transparent. My husband knows this as well. My husband talks about this as well. My husband was addicted to drugs. I met him at 6 months clean. Was he a perfect being? No. Did we both have our issues? Absolutely. But we work through them. You know what I mean? And so I think that sometimes we write people off because we have this idea in our minds, not giving that person grace, if that makes sense. And I'll shut up.
You know what? Traditional. Before you say that, because I won't forget. That's exactly what I was getting ready to say to him, because I was getting ready to say, don't miss a beautiful young woman And I'm gonna give myself one example, because at 23 and 24, I wore the short skirt. There was no Instagram, but I wore the short skirt. But 26 years later, I'm an outstanding wife. So it goes back to what she says. I didn't know everything. I had to be renewed. I did. And you're the person that's in the position who has it. You know it. So don't miss out on something because you're just not willing, or you can't see I'm not going to say potential because I hate potential, that, that you're just, I'm not sure of the word I'm looking for. Just don't miss it. Just don't miss it, because sometimes we just don't know until we know. And as a leader, it is your job to lead us. It definitely is. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just didn't want to forget.
No, you're good. I just want y'all to finish. I just want to be respectful and just let y'all speak your piece, because I'm a firm believer we got to let people get things out, make sure we hear it all through. But no, I mean, the only thing about the lady, I mean, I'm actually talking to someone right now, but the thing is, if she started a lifestyle, well, in my opinion, like if you had, like you said, you have tattoos, Rebecca, I respect that. You're honest, right? I understand that. But the thing is, she got one with her mother and her sister, and it's like she says she wants to keep getting more, and that kind of leads me to thinking I don't want, like, thinking in the future. I'm like, I don't want to have kids with someone who wants to continue to get tattoos. Like, it doesn't come off as a lifestyle that I want to continue to show that I don't even do. Like, I'll be the one standing there without tattoos. It's like one disagrees and one's agreeing to something I'm not doing. So it's like there's an imbalance. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm really trying to say. You know what I'm saying?
So,
I don't.
yes, 100%. You have to be a level of, what is it, equally yoked, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if that doesn't align with your values, it doesn't align with your values. And you have
Yeah.
to make that explicitly clear. The values and morals are probably the most important thing you should be basing your relationship on. And if you are not aligned, that's okay. She's not the woman for you, right? But to continue, if you continue to see her and you're still upset about it, that's you're bringing that problem, you're creating that problem for yourself. You shouldn't just, in my opinion, this is my unsolicited advice, right? Take it with a grain of salt.
Take it.
Go ahead. It's all good.
Say, okay, this is just not working for me. This is not a woman that you said it yourself. This is not, I don't want the mother of my child having these things.
So one more thing, traditional versus modern. I tell men, young men, write out your plan. Write the plan for your wife. Write down what she looks like. If she has no tattoos, don't alter. Write your plan, look for your plan, because that's your purpose. It'll make it purposeful for you. And if she's not that, then she's not the one. Don't deter from that. But again, have grace. But write the plan. Write down what you're saying. In your mind, you have an idea, because you just said what you didn't like, but you need to write it down. We all need to be, you as a man, as a leader, write down your plan, where you're supposed to be in 5 years, where you see you and your wife, how many kids you got. And you go out here and vet these women, and you ask those questions that are written on your plan for your life. And if they are not, I mean, if you got 10 questions and they didn't get but 2 right, next. But if they got 8 right, you might be like, okay, she got 8 right. Let me go back and have some more conversation, because maybe I didn't phrase it the right way. Or maybe I'm being a little stickler or whatever. But men, you should have a plan. You got your vision. Men, vision, dreams, and plans. Write them down. You look like you're at the where you should be doing this, I think.
I'm 29. I'll be 30 this year. So
you're ready. You're ready.
Look, I had to learn at 25 after that relationship was my first marriage. So I had to get out of that. That had to make me realize, because I was a virgin when I lost my first one to my spouse. So that was a 7-month situation. But like I said, I'm thankful for that, to let me get out of that unscathed with no kids and no situation where money involved to be paying half and half, So I can say that very honestly and very thankfully, because my parents, are very traditional, but they're not Christians, of course. But I'm very understanding of what you're saying. I will do that, actually. I will actually look into doing that, because I thought about writing some stuff down for the new year, especially for my plan, because I already know what I do now. So the women I've come across now in the modern society today in America, it's just not been it hasn't been meaning a lot of things I've been praying for, but a lot of things they stand on. It's just, based on what people say in the media, and also standing on non-Christian values. But I get it. These are the things you have to be mindful and be vigilant on, because men today, we have to understand, you sleep with multiple people, you're going to lose more of a touch to your wife. 'Cause I tell men, yeah, body count kind of matters when I get to know a person, because science has shown that you have to understand that you losing, like, if you're gonna be with multiple people in your a lifetime, right? They say there's a word for it. It's like your connection to your spouse. It's like saying that you have a lesser desire because you gave it to so many people. It's like your connection is kind of lessened for that sexual. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you
Yeah,
know that.
the pair bond.
Parabon, yes, that's the word, parabon, because
Mhm.
that is so true, because many don't understand this is what happens to most of these women, like these shows on Netflix talking about sex life. I mean, she's thinking about the dude she slept with 10 years ago, like college, like you're past that. You're married with a man in the suburbs, 2 kids. How do you go to the 10 years in that sex life? Like, yo, that's so old. How does that happen? But because of multiple partners. You see what I'm saying? But thankfully we understand that that's something some of us never experienced. I never had multiple partners. I had one girl as my ex-wife, and thank God that was it, because I have not stepped out, been 3 years abstinent. Shout out to the Lord. And I'm kind of shy sharing my experience, but this is something I have to be honest with, because I know some guys out there are probably still virgins, and we need men speaking like this. And I'm African, but born American, so African American. But the thing is, many men have to stop and realize, stop sharing yourself to so many women, and women, stop sharing yourself to so many men, because it's not going to get you better. It's going to weaken your connection to your next partner, that's your husband or your wife. And it's true, we got to stop that. And my peers don't hear me, but I got to be the example to show them this is not the way to go. Being in marriage is the way to go. You know what I'm saying? Even if you didn't make the right choice the first time, like I did, and you can redo it now with the grace of God and make a better choice now, but with vetting. And also, instead of dating, I believe in courtship. So I'd rather court the next person, because I'm going to meet the family, because that's really going to tell me more about the person, especially the parents, and how their friends are, because it tells me a little bit about them than I know about them. They're telling me what they really tell me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's important.
It is.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Tradition
Yeah.
versus Modern. We appreciate your feedback. We appreciate this conversation so much. And
You're welcome.
best of luck to you in your hunt
Oh.
for your wife.
I will be on the prowl. I'll be on the
Yeah.
prowl.
You gonna have to come back and weigh in update. This happens soon for him. It's soon.
I'm gonna come back.
Yeah,
It's my first
definitely.
time on this. Yeah, I was gonna go try to little P for or anybody's show, but this is my first. I said, Rebecca, I got to do another show, because
Oh, thank
I
you.
seen her and I shared it on Instagram. So hopefully they're watching. If anybody check this out, so
Good. That's
Thank
good.
you so much. Thank you
Yeah,
so much, Tradition versus Modern. I appreciate you so
definitely.
much.
welcome.
All
Don't
right.
forget to
Awesome.
subscribe to my channel if you haven't.
Yes. Subscribe
Yes, I
to
am.
Security Boss,
I am.
because she got mad gems.
I
I'm
believe
telling
it.
you. I'm telling you. All right. It's good
Thank
to
you,
talk to you.
traditional versus
Thank
modern.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right. So good. We got a super chat we got a super chat while he was talking. And then Chanel, I'm gonna bring you on. All right. Samuel Barr, thank you for the $5. Loving this conversation. I follow you both. Thank you for giving us hope that those of us who want to be married can I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at reading. You can find our helpmeet. Thank you so much, Samuel. I appreciate it. I'm glad we're giving people hope. That's the goal here.
That is the goal. That is it. You're right.
The one thing I love, this is the one thing I will say, I love, first of all, shout out to Chantel in the chat here. She says, "Hey, security boss."
Hey.
Chantel, girl, you better come on. Chantel with the gems too. But I love, I just I love that you share so transparently. I love that we're very optimistic people.
Yes.
You're very optimistic,
I
and
am.
that was something that I perceived from a mirror show
Yeah,
when we were
yeah,
both I was
yeah,
like, "I don't think it's all that bad. I swear, I don't think it's all that bad." Like, I think that there is still hope
yeah.
for men and women out there
I do.
and for marriage. Come on. I
Sometimes
think there's
I don't. But sometimes I get real like, oh God, I don't even want to. But then I just think it is. I just think people will enjoy if they just really give it a try. But guess what though? We're talking about it so much. It has to be something to it. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
If it wasn't of value or insignificant, why would we need to have so many conversations? Why are so many people against it? It would just be one of those things, right?
mhm.
But I say if the world is against it, it's a good thing.
Exactly. I
It's a
love
good
that,
thing.
and we're gonna bring Chanel. I'm sorry, guys. I also I'm just need to say this. For some reason, I don't know, I just realized this halfway through the chat or the feed that none of the names are coming up. I'm
No.
so sorry. I'm a terrible streamer, hence why I don't stream often. I was like, I tried to put it on halfway through. I was like, oh, it's not popping up. Cool, that's fine. No big deal. All right. Chanel, you can unmute yourself.
Hi,
Welcome.
Rebecca.
Hi.
Hi. Oh
Hi.
my
How are
gosh.
you?
I'm so good. Hi, security boss. I'm so excited.
We're so excited to have you here.
Yes,
We
I'm
are.
such a big fan of you, Rebecca, and a new fan of you, security boss. It's
Well, thank you. Thank
so
you.
wonderful to hear ladies like you. Oh my gosh. So I'm so
That's
excited.
awesome. What do you got? What do you got for us? You have questions, thoughts?
Thoughts, definitely thoughts. So I'm a newly married woman.
Oh, we need to hit a hand clap.
Woo, woo,
Got
woo.
to have it.
3 months in,
Woo.
and
Congratulations.
this is like the best decision I've ever made. Like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I cannot believe like there are women debating whether to get married or not, or fooling around, messing with their time. Like, that's like crazy to me. And definitely watching your content, Rebecca, has helped me during my engagement process. The helpful conversation or courageous conversations. My husband and I have been having a lot of those because things got real
Mm.
in a good way, though, in a good way.
Good, good.
And it's just amazing. I wanted to say to the last caller, like, I totally understand what you're going through because I was going through something similar trying to find a Christian man. I'm a Christian as well. And it's Christian women are out there. We're just at home, like cooking and cleaning. We're just stuck in our house. So you just gotta
Yep.
kind of look, But yeah, I'm just so excited to know there are other women out there. And sometimes it gets really disheartening because
Mm.
when I look around, I'm from New York. I'm from Queens, New York. When I look around, I don't see a lot of people who think like me, and it gets kind of sad where I'm just like, oh, okay, so we're all about being a boss babe and doing all of this. What about, catering to your man? What about cooking? What about, and I'm not saying you can't go to work. I go to work. I'm a flight attendant. I travel for a living, but I still come with my man and he treats me like a queen. I treat him like a king. And I just love this life and I would not trade it for the world. So those are my little tidbits.
I love that.
Good. Yeah.
We're in Queen or I lived in Astoria, so I know that area. You don't have to tell the internet, actually. That's a bad
Oh,
idea.
no,
Don't
that's
tell.
fine. Originally from the hood, but but the hood is
Okay,
not
okay.
in me.
Yeah, New York will breed a different type of
Girl.
woman.
Girl. But my mom's side of the family, they're from Trinidad and they're more or less more traditional than the American culture.
Mhm,
So like I saw a lot of working moms that took care of business when they came home. Like, they went to work, but they came home, cooked, cleaned, took care of the kids, read them stories, helped with homework. They did all of that. And to hear that today's modern women are like complaining about going to work and taking care of the house, I'm just like, what? Like, that's what we had to do. And then on the Christian perspective, and I was just talking about this with my mom actually, women in the Bible, if you look at Proverbs 31, they were working. It describes the ideal woman as working. Like, so if we're talking traditional, technically, that woman is working too and taking care of the home without complaint. So that always confused me where people are like, oh, yeah, I need to be kept and this and that. And that's fine if that's what you want. I'm not judging any woman for that. But to say that that's the only requirement you should ever have, I don't know. That doesn't sit right with me personally.
It don't sit right with us either. No. It don't. It's not even real because like you said, the virtuous woman, but she was working for her home. You know,
exactly.
so kind of alludes to her being somewhat of an entrepreneur in our time. You know, she went out and got it, brought it home. So we are in agreement with that. I don't know why people are stuck on that. That's just, I think, a talking point to deflect or something. But a woman is a helpmeet, and she should be helping her husband in whatever way he needs her to do so. Now, I don't think she should just be out there making money to say for herself. I think it needs to be for the home and whatever the requirements are for the home. And I do think the husband should be determining, you know, what needs to be done. You know, if she's working for him, that's better. If she has her own business, like Rebecca said, you know, like I said, too, I was a realtor for many, many years. She's doing the YouTube in home, and it's kind of versatile. Now you have so many options to work and have a career in home. I mean, there's no excuse for a woman not to be able to manage her home and make money. So
that is so true.
I'm in full agreement with that. You know, I think these modern times, these modern times and social media got us all twisted in the head. And it's sad. It's sad to see because I talk to a lot of women, a lot of young women, and they're so caught up in themselves.
Yep.
Right? Themselves is what I can get. Is he paying for my, like, I need a $300 meal. I need this, that, and the third. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, baby, listen to me, okay? Take a chill pill. The world does not revolve around you. Even though you think that the world revolves around you, there's a lot of women that need that reality check. There's a lot of people in general that need that reality check today in today's society. Too many people think that life, everything is woe is me, or, you know, like the world is out to get me. And it comes with a level of entitlement as well, right? Security boss, you have stuff to say over here.
Well, no, I was just thinking, you know, the younger generation, they live so much in a virtual world now that nothing's really real to them. You know, so you say something about managing a home, they'll probably go to the YouTube and try to figure out, you know, put in managing a home to see exactly what you're talking about. They don't know how to do mechanical things. There's no social, there's a lot of social immaturity because they don't have to think about anything. There's no thought going into what needs to happen. So I would suggest, and I don't know, and I'm going to Chantel, the newlywed, if you don't need to be on the social media, try not to be on the social media.
It's very minimal.
Yeah, try to get the information from a real person, you know, that you can maybe trust and put your hand on, or maybe see an example of what they're saying. I know we're on social media right now, and that might sound like an oxymoron, but you understand what I'm saying, right? You don't have to believe what I'm saying. Just try it. And I just think we need to, you know, I don't think we can put it back in the bottle, though. I think we're just so far gone, we can't go backwards. But that's the problem. Younger generations are all about social media. They actually do things thinking they get a do-over. And they don't realize how things impress on their life so much that they don't get a do-over. Even going back to some even like with you, Rebecca, they're now doing tattoos and putting them on their face. I really think they can get a do-over. You know,
it's it's really it's fascinating to me. Absolutely. Like we put whatever you put out online, guess what?
It stays.
It stays there.
Can you
We
imagine them 40 years old with a tattoo right here? I mean, 40, 50. Can you imagine me with a tattoo across my head right now at 50 years old? I mean, come on.
I just don't understand. Do people think of the future anymore? Like
no,
I
no.
grew up
No.
I grew up where my mom was like, you need to think of how is this going to affect you in 5, 10, 15 years.
No.
Even a tattoo is such a commitment.
They
I
have
don't
so many
understand.
ways of not living reality that they're in a virtual world. They don't live past what? How fast can a Instagram picture? How long does it stay? Like a day or so? That's about the longest it goes, and then they go on to something else. No, they don't think about the future. They
At
have no
all.
idea. No.
It baffles me that they'll put thought into a tattoo, a little thought, but they won't put into thought on who they let enter their bodies. That is such a big, just like the gentleman before said, that leaves such an impression on you that it can make or break the rest of your life.
Mhm.
That actually directs what type of man you look for. And then when it's too late, you're looking around like, what are my options?
But
Yeah.
you're equating that to real life. They're saying this represents likes, this represents money, this represents jobs, and I'll think about life later on because I'm not ready to live yet. That kind of life. That's for old people. Right
Mhm.
now, all that attention they're getting is equals money. It equals some sort of notoriety, nice cars, pocketbooks, being taken care of, all the things that they can think of in that moment. They'll think about real life later.
That
Yeah.
breaks my heart.
We got a super chat. I'm sorry. Chanel, I got to bring this up for you.
Or-
Neil Moses with the $4.99. Thank you. I got to ask, does the guest have a Christian single sister from Trinidad?
Oh, wow.
I'm so sorry. No.
There's your answer, Neo Moses. Sorry.
I'm so sorry, but Trinidad has chock full of beautiful Christian women.
There you
so
go.
go visit. Carnival is canceled because of COVID, but come on down.
No,
There
but
you
you hit on a lot of facts there, right? Like and this is why I use my channel, and I think Security Boss uses her channel, is to speak to women before these things happen preemptively, because I never want a woman to get to the age that I got to and say, what am I doing?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest reasons I started my channel, because I want them to learn from my mistakes so that they're not making the same mistakes. And I have recently a 19-year-old girl reached out to me. She's like, I'm more traditional minded and I really want a husband in my future. And she's like, I don't agree with like the feminist movement and all this stuff. I've been watching your videos. I was like, that's amazing. Like, that's congratulations. And it takes a lot. It's very countercultural. Like this whole conversation that we're having here is very countercultural, because society tells women, tells a lot of people, but I'll speak to women, right? It tells women we can do whatever we want with no consequences.
Yeah.
And life doesn't work that way. I was raised very much like you, Chanel. Like, my parents always said, think about your future. Think about 10 years down the road. Think about 5 years down the road. That's why I never, like, there's things that I could have done. We all thought some crazy things, right? We've all had some nuts. I mean, I'll speak for myself, but I have had some crazy ideas in my head. I said, wow, life can be so much easier if I just did this or just did that, right? But it's like, do I really, like, those consequences don't, they're, what is it? The ROI isn't there. The return on your investment is not there, right?
No.
And you have to like I think a lot of people are operating in their flesh. A lot of people are just operating in what can I get right now and not thinking about a future of anything. And it's sad. It makes me sad. This is why I speak to women. Why I have this channel. Why I bring Security Boss on so she can drop gems for everyone.
One thing I wanted to say as a flight attendant, even before I was a flight attendant, I taught English abroad, and I spent a majority of my time in Colombia, South America. And I have a whole travel vlog on YouTube. Check it out of all my travels. But one thing I've learned, I studied the women there, and I'm a little bit of a nerd. So I taught myself Spanish, and speaking to women there, I've learned so much more, I think, about femininity than ever, actually, ever. I know a lot of men, especially Black men, are using their passports and ditching American women, and they have every right to, honestly. I would advise women who are on their feminine journey, do the same, but with a different twist. Use your passport to learn about actual femininity from a good source, because here in the United States, it is contaminated, honestly. It's contaminated, and I didn't grow up in a two-family household, so a lot of the things I learned in my adulthood. So I would suggest for the women who did not have a father growing up, use your passport, but use it in a civil way and learn about the true nature of women, learn about different cultures and how women interact with men, how husbands interact with wives, and vice versa. That's what I did. I did my own little mini social experiment. I came back like a weight lifted off of my shoulder. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I came back on the subway, everyone's like, get out of my way. And I'm just like, that's not even bothering me. Like, I'm free as a bird. I love life. Like, it was such a difference when I came back. So I would say, once it's safe to do so, women, please do that. It's changed my life. And, you know, just being around Latina women, they're just they're just so feminine and loving. So it'll rub off on you. And I highly suggest that.
I love that. Thank you so much, Chanel, for all your little gems.
No problem.
And congratulations. I'm
Congratulations.
so happy. It literally like fills my heart to know that there are young women out there that are getting married, and you're on the right path.
About it.
You're on the right path. And I can tell your face. This is
Glowing.
glowing.
Oh, thank you.
This is what I will say. This is what I will say. When you step into your femininity, look at your face. Look at Security Boss's face.
Happy.
Right? Happy.
Yes.
We're happy. We're happy. We're
Yes.
happy. We're not.
Oh, I gotta cook. Like, come on.
We're happy, and I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
And keep having courageous conversations with your husband. And thank you so much for dropping some amazing gems here.
Thank you.
Means
And
a
thank
lot.
you for having me on, Rebecca. And
Of
Security Boss.
course.
I love these conversations. I'll be in the chat.
Yay. And drop your travel channel in the chat too, so that we can find it.
Yes. Thank you guys
All right.
so much. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, we got a super chat in here. Thank you so much, Z.HB. Okay, sorry again, guys. I'm like dyslexic, so just keep that in mind when you're listening to me talk. Sorry, ladies, but as a man, I cannot accept or find a tatted up, attractive, or reliable. I'm assuming woman. Attractive or reliable to take care of our kids. These women are not thinking ahead. $10 USD.
You're right.
That's me. You're right. Like, women are not thinking.
So, Rebecca, there was a question in there about feminism or feminist. I can't remember, but it said something about in the 60s, and it was directed towards me.
Oh, we're here.
Yeah, I'm sorry I wasn't born in the 60s. I'm sorry I don't know much about it. But if you're talking about being feminist, I'm almost sure it was different, because women nowadays are downright, they're almost mean and mad and angry. Back then they were ladies. And they were just coming into their own about, you know what, this actually started women not wanting to stay at home. They were bored, and it just turned into something else. So it's quite different. If that's what you're talking about, the feminist movement, and I could be reading it all wrong, but first thing, I wasn't born in the 60s. Well, I don't know. But if that's what you're speaking of, it didn't start off the way that it is now. Okay. Then there was another one about somebody said something about the 60s, more the hippie love era, and something about
right here.
CDs. I'm like, what?
The hippie movement happened in the 60s, right? The love is love movement that backfired, ton of STDs.
Oh, I can only tell you, neither one of us, definitely not me. I wasn't around in the 60s. Probably wouldn't even thought of. So, you know, can't tell you too much on it. Just things we read and heard. So
no, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's true. The feminism that we're seeing today is not the same feminism
it is not
from before. And what we're seeing today is misandry.
Listen, the feminist ladies, they were like really ladies. They wore dresses, were really prim and proper. And then some things started happening. But initially, it was not like it is now. So, you know.
Okay, we got David DeVito. Sorry, I can't put for
Is
some
it David
reason.
Do? Is it David Do? Or how do you pronounce it? David Do?
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, David.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, it's really nice to meet you guys, Rebecca and Security Boss. I really appreciate the fact that you guys are having this conversation. I feel like it's definitely something that needs to be had more and more, just to kind of get kind of a turnaround on society. And I say that because I'm in an ethics class currently. And Rebecca, you got stumped on the word with the guy his parents were from Africa. You got stumped on the word. And the word is eudaimonia, which is to express happiness, completion, and it's more directed in a term, long-term, like life fulfillment is kind of, I think, the word you were thinking of. And I say that because I'm coming from a place where I feel like it's like on my heart, and I'm a believer, like it's on my heart too, that this is something that needs to be kind of just corrected within society. Like, hey, we need to like knuckle down, especially when you're like bringing children into the world. Like, hey, you need to have like healthy, mentally, emotionally stable parents bringing up children to have the best chances of success for their future. And just having like parents that understand and are relatable, and that dynamic between a mother and a father for the children's sake is like the highly most beneficial thing you can have for children. And I can say that because my parents stayed married, and my parents had that conversation with me. And then I'm also married, and my wife and her parents had that conversation with me. And I think I also should bring an add in too, as an American society, because I live abroad. It's important that as Americans, we be careful what we portray in the media, because that does bleed out into other countries, and they do see that and they feel a certain type of way about it. So I feel like it's also like our responsibility to start getting control of that image and portray sort of that American standard that we used to hold to, that we do have a sense of values and morality, because that also, you can see it when you go to Europe and Asia, like they see it and then it reflects them, and it creates a stigmatism, and it good or bad. So I feel like that was kind of what I wanted to say, and just along, and I agree with everything you guys are saying with your message today.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. If I can ask you, where in the world, you don't have to be specific, but if you don't mind sharing, like, are you in an Eastern country? Are you in Europe, somewhere in Europe, South America? No, we're not going to.
So I just left. So my wife is Italian from Italy. Okay. So I just left Italy, and we now live in Korea.
Amazing. And how do you see the culture there as it relates to marriage in Korea?
It's so funny. It's so when I was like courting my wife, because we went through more of a courtship, I remember specifically we had announced that we were planning to be married, and her family kind of sat me down. We had a Sunday dinner, and mind you, they're like Italian. They barely speak English. So in their broken Italian, her dad had actually asked me, and it was kind of abruptly, and it caught me off guard. But he was like, "So why is divorce rate so high in America? Why don't they guys stay together?" And it was like a bum rush. And I kind of had to pause at him, and I didn't have a good answer for him at that time, but it kind of struck me too. I was like, that's true, that I never really thought about it from some like a foreigner's mind. Like,
Yeah.
because he looked at me, he's like, look, here in Italy, we stay married. And that's the mentality of my wife that I appreciate. She's like, hey, I'm not leaving you. It is what it is. It's like tough luck. But I appreciated that. And but her father looked at me and he's like, and I can tell he's like, hey, do you think you're gonna leave my daughter? You're gonna divorce her? And I just had to tell him my views. I was like, I take marriage seriously. I take the vows seriously. And I was like, I think this is a responsibility thing, because I mean, we're not talking about kids now, but I was like, hey, if we plan to have kids, I was like, it's societal responsibility. So I tried to ease his mind as best I could in my broken Italian and his broken English, if that makes any sense.
No, I love that. When you're looking at different cultures, I'm Brazilian, so we very much have we're very similar to Italian culture, and in the sense that it's all about family. It's the family. It's a family unit, right? And so they place the value so highly on family and the duties of, and this is speaking about Brazilian culture. It could be different than Italian culture, but the duty is about family, and it's about keeping, how do I say this? It's about keeping the generations like moving forward, and it's creating more life and creating more family units. And I will say, I don't know if it's the same thing as Italian culture, but I'm assuming it's similar in that sense. But I think that we've lost that sense here in the States, where it's very much it's about the individual. It's very individualism, and we've lost that family dynamic in a way, and working towards the family instead of working towards yourself, if I'm making that clear.
No, that's very clear. And that is also very true too. Like Italian culture is very similar, and you kind of see it play out in like day-to-day living. The communities are much tighter knit, and you can see it, like, for example, like if you were to just go out on the town for, you just want to take you and your friend out, you just go out and have drinks. You can see like everyone's still friends with the people they went to elementary school. They're just having their wine and their appetizers, and they're just having a good time. And they're very much like the community is like interwoven. It's like the families are close, the community is close, and it kind of just plays out across the country. Everyone bonds over wine and meals, and it's just like that's what everyone does, and they always come together, and it's like the happiest place you can think of. But on the flip side, they're very tuned in with America, and some of like the party girl and the club scene, and a lot of like, I don't want to like bash it, but like the sexual liberation thing is slowly sinking in, and there is starting to become more of individualism there. And it's like old school versus new school traditions. It's like this little battle that they have, where it's like they don't like that old school traditional, but that's the scene is growing, and it's because they're taking it from what they see in American pop culture. So I feel like that's my place, is like, hey, we should not be portraying this image, because it's bleeding out into like the world abroad. Like everyone else is picking up on it, and it's just like I just feel like that's gonna it's damning. It's destroying a lot of cultures, a lot of history. Like a lot of things are going with that sort of image that's going on.
Security boss, you have something to add?
I just don't think we can put it back in the bottle. I don't know. It's not a good image. That was a good question that your father-in-law asked. I'm glad you said you didn't know, but it made you think,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you want to show up a better man than, you know, have a better relationship with your wife. And, you know, just to know, though, that she wasn't raised that way probably helped a lot because it enabled you to trust her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a big part of staying married. A friend, being a kind person, someone you can trust, and someone a friend. So she had the makings of it. So it helped you a lot. And you know, it kind of was a good thing for him to say that to you, but I do know that would catch anybody off guard for somebody to just come out with that. But you're right about the image that we're portraying, but it's just a real thing. And that's why we're here. That's definitely why I talk about marriage more than anything. Rebecca talks to the ladies a lot. I've tried in the past to talk to the ladies. The ladies are real rebellious. They don't listen. So I talk to the men more so than the ladies. But I'm just really pushing marriage. And I just think there's so much protection, covering, success, money, happiness. I think all that is in a good marriage. So I am definitely trying to push that. And maybe, I mean, I don't know. David, do you think we can turn this thing around? What do you think? Do you think it can be or no?
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. Yes, because
Okay.
I feel like I came from a place where, like in my younger years, I was like not okay with the idea of marriage. I knew, like I had it in my mind, like I wasn't going to get married. I had it in my mind, like none of these women were good. It was kind of like this buildup of anger too. Like I was getting more and more mad that deep down, I did want to be married and have children. And as I was growing older and going through the dating scene and stuff, it was frustrating and it caused me to be angry. And I think I had a moment where like it broke and I had to self-reflect and I had to realize like, you know what, like I do want to be married. I do want to have a family and I do want to stay married. And I don't want this negativity that everyone kind of preaches as if it's supposed to be normal. Like divorce is normal. Being a single mom is normal. And I was like, I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for my kids. So I did take it upon myself. I was like, you know what? I can't be like everyone else. I have to like bear the weight and kind of just push through it. And I'm going to do whatever I got to do to find a good woman that's, you know, essentially more traditional. And, you know, I can understand like the idea of like feminism and like I can understand different viewpoints, but someone that's very home and very respects the ideas of marriage, is very like understanding of the weight of having children. And I was like, I'm not going to stop until I find that. And, you know, so luckily I did, you know, we're newly-ish weds. July will be our 1-year anniversary. She's behind me over there. So I'm glad that I found that in my wife, but I know that I went through my path, and I think it's like good to encourage people like, hey, you should go through your path to like, you should want these things. You should kind of fight these new norms being pushed. And that's why I love your guys' shows, because it's like you're having at least the conversation to break the stigmatism, if that makes sense. And you know, it might correct somebody to have their breaking point. Like, I want to change. I want to be the difference.
So I have a question, two questions for you, actually. The first one, how old were you when you had this awakening? I'm going to call it an awakening. How old?
I think I was 26 at the time.
That's young. That was good. Because usually men kind of mature into that around 30.
Yeah.
And my second question is for you is to start taking notes, because you're going to have a question. The question is going to be, how does it benefit me as a man to be married? And I want you to be able to run it down to him without hesitation, you know. So they need to know there is benefits in being married as a man. because what the West is pushing, it's basically all about money. And they talk about divorce and marriage in the same sentence all the time, which makes no sense, but it's all about her getting 50% of your money. And they need to know that it's much more than that. It's about
Mhm.
growing old with someone. It's about having that person to care for you, to take care of you, being one with someone. And I just need a man to be able to say those things when they're hit with that question, because that's what we're pushing over here. That's all you ever hear. She's gonna take half of everything, or So I want you to be able to tell them something good.
I agree with you. You're right. That is a thing. And it took me a time to generate my own mentality to that. And I think simplicity is beauty is kind of what I'm kind of trying to take into my life with my wife. So I definitely try to look at every little change that she goes through and perceive it as beautiful, because I think for me, it's like watching her evolve over time is simple in its idea, but it's also a beauty. And that's where I feel like I value the marriage. So that's what I look forward to in the future, is that I'm going to watch this person over time, because everyone goes through changes seasonally.
Right.
Like over time, like I'm going to watch her become like the woman that she will be, 40 years from now, 50 years from now. And it's that the way I can explain it is like a orbit. Like the Earth always orbits the sun and, the planets, and it's beautiful and it's simplistic, think about it, but there's a harmony to sort of rotating around each other, having just that simple influence over each other to kind of lead them one way or the other. And I find that, to me, it's like a beauty, like eudaimonia, as I was saying before, like that's where I want to be when I'm 90 years old and she's 90 years old, and we're sitting there and kind of just reflecting on like, hey, I'm glad that we stuck this out, because it's nice to know that we did these things together. We grew this. I seen you go through this and you've seen me go through that, and just the change and the direction that we all went, and just feeling at peace about that is kind of where I sit, where I want in my life.
I love it.
Yeah. Definitely.
I have similar sentiments, and I was having this conversation with my sister and then my husband, and we were talking about, I told my husband, I'm like, you're stuck with me, boy. Like, I'm that's what you're gonna get. But I am also going to constantly work on myself every day to be a better wife to you. And he says, I'm going to be a better husband to you every single day. So when I tell people complacency will be the biggest marriage killer. Complacency. You got to continue to feed into your relationship, to feed into your marriage. You have to, we went through premarital counseling, and we like to say we have a tool belt of things, right? We have our tool belt. If something comes up, oh, okay, we got a tool for that, right? And we're gonna go through these seasons of ups and downs, these ebbs and flows, right? Where things are going to be amazing for a period of time, and then we'll have a season of not so great. But it's that choice to love your husband, love your wife every single day. That's the key, I believe, to marriage, is that it is a choice. It is a choice. I have to love my husband, but I got to like him. And I like being around my husband, That was something a woman said to me. She's like, I love my husband, but I like my husband too.
Yeah.
And that changed things for me, that perspective for me, because it's an everyday thing. Sometimes you'll wake up and be like, I'm tired of you. And he looks at me, he's like, I'm tired of you too. And he goes, you're tired of me? Go take a nap.
I love it.
But
it definitely gets easier as you go. So
yeah. Security boss, you got 26 years under.
My husband, he's tired of me. I just say, okay, big head.
That's how my parents are too. So it's like I understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I
you're right.
love it. Thank you so
Definitely.
much for
Thank
Yeah,
sharing.
no,
And
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad this is a conversation now. And I hope that you guys continue pushing through it because it's like you just got to break the ice. And I feel like that's what you guys are right here doing.
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye. All right, security boss. We are 2 hours and 41 minutes, and my bladder is about to explode. I
I
am
wonder how you went this long.
pregnant. Okay.
I know.
But we barely scratched the surface of this conversation, and of course I have to bring you back for part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. Like I maybe answered you, I maybe went through 2 questions. Okay, so that's unacceptable. But guys, thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you so much for engaging here with us. Thank you for all the callers who came onto the stream. Thank you for all the gems that were dropped, because I feel like so many gems were dropped today that I don't even know. This is going to be a hard one to clip, security boss.
Yes, it is.
Your husband has some work for cut out for it.
He does. And we're not done. And the baby's coming.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure whatsoever. But guys, if you haven't subscribed to Security Boss, oh, hold on, we got a super chat up in here. And
Yeah, you do.
first of all, if you haven't subscribed to Security Boss, please go subscribe to her channel. This woman has so many, and I keep saying gems because honestly, like I write these things down. You have such a wisdom.
Thank you.
A love that comes, and it's pure, and it's like amazing. You can feel that you care about people genuinely. And I'm so happy to have you here on my channel, and you're definitely coming back. But go subscribe to her. Get her up to, whatever your goal is, 5,000, 10,000.
I don't have one. We're just going to push for it.
You're going to push for it, but
That's it.
please go subscribe to her. Thank you so much for the $100. I'm not going to try. Sorry. I'm so bad at names.
Ooh, condemn Ninia.
Yeah. Just showing my support. Keep these conversations going. We will keep these conversations going. We're not stopping, because I think it's so important that we continue to share this message to people, right?
Definitely.
That marriage is still attainable today. You see newly married people here. We just had
3 couples, right?
2 or 3 couples newly married.
Yeah. I like that.
So I love seeing that. I love seeing the wisdom that are coming from these people. It's amazing to see people getting married, and that's what we're going to keep doing here. Keep preaching the gospel of marriage. Security boss, do you have anything that you want to share? Do you have a live that you have? Do you have a new live coming up?
I do have a live on Tuesday. I actually go live Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So you can catch me at any time. And my husband's big on advertising. So if you just go to Security Boss Unsolicited. Now I have several channels out there. So I want you all to get this one right. I don't want y'all going to my professional page. So Unsolicited is where you need to be, unsolicited. And we advertise on Instagram all the time about our lives. And I would just love and enjoy to have all of you there at any given time. But mostly it's Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And make sure you hitting that bell so you can get, you get notified when these new videos come out. And hopefully you're going to let me know when we can do part 2 so I can maybe plug that in.
Girl,
because I do want to continue this conversation. But
next Friday.
that's fine. We don't have anything planned for next Friday, so let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, definitely.
We're gonna have to get this sooner rather than later because this baby might be coming way sooner than we think.
Those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts.
I'm like this.
Listen, John Masters says, "Marry me." I don't know who he's talking to because it's two married women up there. Maybe he's talking to somebody else. Maybe we should stay out of the chat.
In the chat.
You're right.
Jedi Mike.
Jedi Mike. Hey, Jedi.
What's up? Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Thank you again so much. Oh, and shout out to Chanel Adams. This is her. Go reach out to her channel, her travel channel. You guys have been so awesome in the chat. Thank you so much for all the super chats. Thank you, Security Boss, for being here. I'm gonna DM you right after this, so we're gonna have to set up the next one. But guys, please go subscribe to her channel. Come subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Give the stream a big like. I told you I'm so bad at this. I'm like at the end of the stream, I'm like, give me a like if you want to. Give us a like on the way out. But we appreciate every single one of you for being here, for taking time out of your day to watch us, and we appreciate you.
Definitely.
All right.
Soon. We'll see you soon.
See you very soon. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.